Hi, everybody, and welcome to the show. Dave Emmons and Strange Reality. We have all kinds of topics, and I'd like to be talking about the topics of the world and the chaos that we're going through. I'm just talking to my guest off camera about what's going on in today's world, and a lot of the people that are not happy with things going on. And you have a lot of problems in Ireland and Europe, and we're just not in a happy world. And part of what we're talking about today is going to be UFOs, cryptids, and Bigfoot, and the Vril Society, World War II, and which probably started a lot of this stuff with the German technology and everything. Uh, but on the show Strange Reality, we tried to get into, uh, I guess you can, a lot of people call them conspiracies, but I'm finding out that most of these conspiracies are actually true and they come about and they're true. So if you hear a conspiracy or whatever on these platforms, it's for entertainment purposes only. We have to kind of put that in there to kind of buffer the situation that we don't go against community standards, and we'll actually say that okay, this is not for sure, it's not a fact, it's an opinion, or it's an observation by some people. So we want to do that too. Nothing's for sure. Even science knows nothing's for sure, because they keep going over and over and over and finding something new every day, just about, and they're finding out our history is all wrong. And my guest tonight, Jason Albertson from Pennsylvania, and he was in the Army for 15 years. He worked in chemical, biological, and nuclear technology. He went to school for computer technology. Computer tech is something I need more of myself. So, but he was injured in the in Iraq, and he got out of the service after about 15 years, but he went into MUFON investigating, and I think we're going to ask him what drove him to that, into the MUFON thing, and we'll find out that he's probably had some early experiences that we haven't really went over yet. But he uh, he actually was he gets involved in ghost investigations, and he was in Ancient Aliens season 19, and he was on there with the MUFON reports and investigations, and he has a small group of investigators that they investigate ghosts, cryptids, and Bigfoot. And he was involved in Jenny Jump project in New Jersey, Bigfoot, I guess, investigation, and he might talk a little bit about that. But he's investigating all the unknown things, the things that people are saying are conspiracies, and he's trying to prove that they're not. And I myself feel that I know that UFOs and ETs are for real. They're really for real, so people need to take heed of that. And even the Pope is talking about that with supernatural entities and with ETs. They're admitting that they're there. You're going to see these things, and we've been seeing them, and more and more. But Bigfoot's also real. Since I haven't seen one, but I know they're out there. There's too many people, too many witnesses, and I think Jason will talk about that a little bit. And I know cryptids are out there. There's always strange animals that happen, maybe a freak of nature, a lot of people might say, but it may not be. But we're going to introduce now Jason Albertson. Welcome to the show, buddy, and thank you for coming on. And what do you got to say about what's going on now with yourself, and what's your thoughts?
Thank you. I appreciate you having me on the show. Um, my thoughts on the world right now is that everything looks like it's going crazy. There's a lot of stuff that just doesn't make sense to me. When I was growing up, it was, you never lock your doors and everybody minded their own. But now, you have to look out. You have to be careful of what you do in today's world.
Right. Yeah, it's a crazy world, and you were in the military for 15 years, so you know a little bit about that. You know that that military can get involved in just about everything. You you go on missions, but sometimes you're not told exactly what's going on behind those missions, and they keep a lot of that compartmentalized. And
Yes, sir.
myself, myself being in the military with a top secret, I know that too, that everything's kept in that one room with the people that you work with. And the military, when they send you out on missions, they'll lock you down in your barracks and you can't leave, and they have MPs at the door. I've been
Yeah.
I've been there too, about ready to go out into another battle, And we sat there all night, and then the president said, "Okay, we're going to stand down. Everybody unpack." So
Yeah.
sometimes it's a relief that you don't have to do that. But Jason, can you tell us what actually got you into, besides all the conspiracies and people going kind of chaotic in the world today, can you tell us what kind of got you into this MUFON study and all the UFOs and ghosts? And
Yeah,
yeah,
what actually got me into it was when I was younger, at the age of 16, I had actually gotten abducted. I was outside with my mother, and it was probably about 6:30, and we were outside, and I remember this very, very clearly because we weren't allowed to smoke in the house. I was, my mom let me smoke, but I I was outside and I was smoking a cigarette with my mother, and I thought I saw a helicopter in the distance, and the spotlight of a helicopter. I said, "Oh, look, Mom, the helicopter's looking for somebody." I was laughing with her, and all of a sudden the light came directly above us from the mountains, which was about 4 miles away. It came directly above us within seconds. We didn't know what it was. I was really afraid. I didn't know what was going on. My body was tingling. Um, at that point, we blacked out. I blacked out. I didn't remember much. There was bits and pieces I can remember, but bits and pieces that are still vivid to me. Um, the At the end of this, the saucer or whatever it was, I didn't see if it was what kind of a craft it was. It was just a light shining on us. I couldn't see because it was so bright. But after it had left, and it definitely left because I saw it, and it, like, the light went off, and then it just went completely out of the picture real quick, out of the sky. And then as soon as we went back inside, my mom had told me, "Hey, it's time for bed now. You got school in the morning." And I said, "Wait a minute, it's only 6:30." And she said, "No, it's not. It's 8:30."
oh wow,
I said, "What?" I said, "We went out at 6:30. How did we go out with one cigarette still lit? We put it out before we came in, but 2 hours went past and we don't even remember it." But that's what got me into MUFON, into cryptids, into the weirdness. I mean, just it opened my mind up to so many things that could be out there.
yeah. So you're saying your mom also admitted to missing time?
Yes, yeah, she is still to this day missing those 2 hours of time, same as me.
Okay, has there been any lucid regress dreams, Jason?
I have had a couple. There was mantis beings on the ship that I was on. But I don't remember much after that. I just remember them apologizing for some reason because the supposedly the beam that they used on me and my mother was not supposed to be used for people. So they took us up to the ship to kind of repair what damage they did by accident. That's what pretty much I got out of it.
Okay, so they probably kind of, well, you're talking about a tractor beam might have been too powerful and probably injured.
Yeah, it might have been because I felt when the light was on me, I felt energy, like pulsing kind of energy throughout my body, like tingly feelings throughout the whole body.
Okay. Yeah, it's some a lot of times people get abducted and they don't have any memories. They erase your memory quite well, and especially with missing time. If you've had a couple hours missing time, I'm sure that they took the effort to erase everything that's happened and put you right back where you started. I know how that feels. I'm an experiencer too. That's why I feel for what you're saying, and I understand what you're saying. Uh, that this started the whole thing in motion in your mind, the curiosity. And I know everybody who was an experiencer once bitten, you're always right back at it, So it's so Jason, I understand that's why you got back into researching. So you must have started researching before you went in the military.
Yes, I did my own research into Bigfoot, cryptids, stuff around the area in Pennsylvania before I joined the military. I grew up in a small town in Pennsylvania, and everybody knew each other, but there was a lot of woods, and I was never home, always in the woods,
Mhm.
always exploring.
Right. Did you find anything during those early years before the military?
Not so much in the early years. It was after I was out of the military, more that I had the experience to actually find it, um, and look for it in a new way.
Yeah, I heard you mention before the show that you were in the military and you was on some kind of a flight recon mission in South America or Central America, and you said you saw some weird things and you couldn't explain. Could you tell us a little bit about that, Jason?
It was as if the cloud wasn't a cloud. It was weird. It was acting like a cloud would. It was going along the sky like a cloud would.
Mhm.
But instead of, you would see a cloud just drift across the sky and just go across, towards the horizon. This one kind of went towards the center of the horizon and then kind of just disappeared onto itself.
Okay. And the other guys who were in the flight with you probably saw the same thing, right?
They all saw the same thing, and they still don't know what it is.
So some people just say, "Oh well," they pass it off as just a weird cloud or whatever. But okay, let's take you now out of the service after 15 years. You get out of the service and then you work with MUFON. And the first, the I guess topic, I didn't know if I was talking to you about pictures or videos that you might want to share with us as we go along. But you mentioned the Vril Society, and I know a little bit about that with the Maria Orsic, and she was way ahead of her time, even in appearance. So she just stuck out. Did you want to talk about the Vril Society first?
Yeah, we can go ahead and do that.
Mm.
Let's see here.
Yeah, if you're going to share pictures, you need to hit the share button and then go to your files. Yeah,
Share my screen here. Share.
yeah, there you go.
Okay, so you guys see the image right now of Maria Orsic.
Right,
Um, Now, Maria Orsic, um, she is unquestionably, now she was the most beautiful woman that I believe who ever lived back in that time.
right,
She was born on October 31st in 1895, and her father was an architect who actually came from Croatia. Her mother was a German ballerina from Vienna, and their daughter was Maria Orsic, which would also become the famous medium.
right,
Who now later she created the Vril Society. Now, as a young adult, Maria identified with the German national movement, which was an outgrowth of World War I's ending.
right,
Their determined goal was to unite Austria with Germany. But 1919, Maria moved to München, where she fell in with a group that represented her nationalistic goals, the Thule Society. She created her own group along with a couple friends. She had a lot of members to this society. It was young women, mostly young women, were in her group, with the the current fashion of the hair back then was short. Okay, they thought that the Brill Society thought that the longer your hair was, it was more of a connection to the spirits that you could actually achieve.
Right. Probably extraterrestrial communications. I just want to stop and you look at this picture. I've seen her picture before. She does look out of date back in the 20s and 30s.
Yes.
Start looking like this. And I don't know, I guess women can probably tell about her makeup and the way she styled herself. Was that the what was that the time or when women styled herself like that? But she seemed like she was way ahead of I guess what you call makeup or hairstyles or whatever. She
That's why, yep, that's why I said she was the most beautiful woman of her time.
right. She really was. But it's I think that's what got her into open a lot of doors, is her beauty. But it's her also her mystique that Hitler liked, and that's why they got that group together. But yeah, there was other stories. I guess you're going to go on with this, go through to the end, but the ending is that I heard was quite exciting. Jason, go ahead.
All right. Yeah, with Maria Orsic, she developed a medium skill that she acquired through her society and through her members and all collective power together. Now, as far as she was a trance medium, is what it was called at the time, meaning that she could go into a trance at any moment and get information from a higher source of power.
Mhm.
Um, Now, when she was first transmediating, she actually was the first was German and Templar language is the first thing that she actually got. The second was ancient Sumerian language, which was native to where I guess the ETs were supposed to have lived long ago.
Right.
That's the language that she was actually receiving into her consciousness. Um, Now later, Hitler Hitler used her her society to form a society of his own on the side called the Thule Society. That was made up of German dictators. You know, the Nazi leader, you know, Hitler. You had all of his generals, his highest scientists were all in this society. And the Thule Society pretty much got all of their information from the Vril Society, meaning she made the communication, she gave the thoughts to them, they interpreted, and they took it the way they went.
Mhm.
Now, she had also been given instructions through these. That's why Hitler had used her so well, was instructions on how to build craft, how to build flying machines, how to build wonder weapons. She was getting all of this information from somebody out in the universe that originally wanted to help, you know, this society gain strength, you know, on the earth.
Yeah, I wonder why she picked the German country and the Nazi movement to work with. It's a strange. I guess maybe the ETs that were communicating with her, and you're talking about the ancient Sumerians, and that's definitely somewhere where we can link 60,000 years ago. We can link the Anunnaki as you know doing some manipulation of our DNA back then. So apparently she was definitely, qualified, you know, from that to be in some type of ET and communicator. But I just covered a story with a lady that she talked about Billy Meyer, and he said that the women he talked to, the Palladians, he called them, they looked like her. They were blonde, blue eyes, pale complexion, and they were the same thing, like Nordics are the tall whites. and those are the ones who work with us closely. But why they wanted to deal in evil, that must have been a different type of thing. But maybe they didn't think Hitler was going to be evil. Then all of a sudden he used it for evil intentions. Do you know anything about that, Jason? Has the story twisted enough to do that?
From what I understand, Maria Orsic in the beginning was about uniting the people. She wasn't about using it for diabolical purposes in the beginning.
Right.
Now, when she got involved with the Vril Society, then it took another turn. It was more sexual energy, if you will. They did communions, they did seances, they did a lot of stuff that I would never think to do today.
Yeah. Yeah. Something like the Roman things that they did back then.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
I'm trying to think of the scientist or the general that was in charge of all this. I'll probably think of it. I don't know, somebody out there in the audience probably think about it. It's the guy that was in charge of all these mysterious. He was in charge of looking for the Ark of the Covenant and all this other stuff. And I can't think of his name.
I'll have to look it up, but it might be Himmler.
Yeah, it's probably Himmler. You're probably right there. And I think she probably worked with Himmler and a couple others in doing that. Now, you mentioned also, I don't know if you're finished with the Vril Society and Maria Orsic. Can you tell us how she disappeared? How,
Actually, yes. In after the end of the war in 1945, the only thing that has ever been attributed to what had happened to her is she had designed the ultimate wonder weapon for Germany, which was the Glocke.
right.
We'll get into that next, which is pretty much translated means the bell. Now, that was the last wonder weapon that she actually gave Germany specific plans to build. It was a kind of time traveling, mysterious object that could defy the laws of gravity.
Right.
And in 1945, at the end of the war, the Vril Society did disappear. Nobody has been found. And the only document, now I did look this up, there's been one document that has been recovered that their mysterious disappearance it's a letter from Maria Orsic. And it says, Nemand blebt er, translated meaning no one is staying here, meaning she knew that they were going to look there. She left the letter for them to find that you're not going to find us.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Vril Society disappeared, the entire society.
Right. I heard some stories. See if you can, Jason, you can add to that. I see where you have Jay Albertson and on your name tag on your video. Your name is Jason Albertson. Uh, but I wanted to ask you, Jason. I heard stories that there was a group of 12, maybe 14 people who went to the north of Berlin during the fall of Berlin. And this is about the time that they said Hitler killed himself. But I think that was there was a body double that he had there. I heard that there was some powerful generals and even Hitler who went with her. They were in a couple of vehicles and they went to this ship. It was north of Berlin and it looked like one of these saucer ships they talk about. And they all got in that ship and they took off. And she led the 12 or 14 people that she let them out. They took the top scientists and a couple of top generals and Hitler, and then of course 4 or 5 of these Vril Society women, and they took off. And that's what the villagers said. Now, those stories from the villagers, I'm not sure if that's for real or not, but that's what I heard. I have never had that proven or talked about. Have you heard anything about that, Jason?
There's many stories and theories going around about the disappearance. There's stories that The entire society did get in a flying saucer. There's stories that she went to Antarctica. She went to the moon. There's stories that they were planning on going and building a Nazi society on the dark side of the moon. There's stories that they went to the ET's actually home world. Um, there's so many theories out there. We don't have any actual facts on which way it could lead. There's U-boats that turned up at the end of World War II that, went to Antarctica, went to the base down there that they were trying to build.
Mhm.
And they couldn't make it in time from when the collapse was to them going there and trying to reinforce it. It was too late. It was too late. It was over.
Yeah, they used Argentina, I think, in South America as a staging point to get to Antarctica.
Yes.
Uh, they found, where Hitler was there, and a couple of his top generals were there, and of course they hunted a few of them down and found them. But this is interesting that you said that she probably went to Antarctica, and then she might have went to the moon for the base there. And today we are talking about Antarctica big time because we, our own government, our own military, has underground sites there a mile down, and they can control earthquakes, and they have the DEW weapon, direct energy weapon, up there. And I have a person who's been on my show about 2 3 years ago. Uh, uh, his name was Hecker, uh, and that's his last name, Hecker. His first name is, I can't think, uh, Jake or something, Hecker. And he was a very, very pushy guy and very direct guy, but he's now been influencing a lot of internet following. I mean, he's got something like 300 something thousand hits, and he's talked to government officials. And Eric Hecker, that's his name, and
Mhm.
he's actually spilling a lot of beans on Antarctica because he was stationed up there, and he doesn't really say exactly what he was, but he had to have been some kind of a alphabet boy that went there, and then because he had access to most of the grounds, and he talks about Antarctica, and that's very well that Maria Orsic could go there. I wanted to have one more note before I turn you loose again, but uh, von Braun, Werner von Braun, he was asked by reporters, so
Mhm.
where did you come up with all this intelligence for killing people with these V2 rockets and all this other stuff? And he pointed up in the air and he said, "Up there, them." That's
Yep.
that's all he said. He wouldn't say who, what, when, or how, but she was probably part of it because she knew Eric von, uh, you know. So so it all ties together. I mean, this whole thing about the Nazis, Maria Orsic, the Vril Society, uh, you know, uh, so it all the scientists associated with it, it all ties together. You want to sum that up, Jason?
Yeah, this whole thing ties together because Maria Orsic was the beginning of the society. She started it. Then it went to the Thule Society. Hitler took over the Vril Society pretty much. Then the end of this is when she disappeared. She got all this communication, however, from the ETs that were supposedly lived in Samaria before leaving Earth.
Mhm. I, you know,
Then,
I
no, go ahead.
find that history fascinating because I'll sometimes go back to it and try to study up on something else, you know, about that. Now, from that, I guess technology is where we spawned, or the Germany spawned their technology jump, like Werner von Braun, and he brought that here to the States. Do you think, with your research, Jason, do you think that's where we all got started in this technology with the building or reverse engineering UFOs?
I think it was a start. It was a major start to communicating between ETs and ourselves. If they hadn't started it, we wouldn't have the V2 rocket today. We still, the United States still uses the V2 rocket as their most advanced rocket system right now, like one of the most.
Right.
But that was back in World War II. That wasn't even our rocket. That was Germany's rocket.
Yeah. And it could travel, what, 200 or 300 miles?
Yes, that was their intercontinental. Yep.
The only difference between theirs and ones we have today, ours is smart weaponry. We have
Yes.
guided missiles now. Back then, they were plotted on a map, and then they were fueled up for so much, and then they just went on their own. There was no control of them. They were like dumb bombs, and but they were targeted towards big city centers in London and places like that. I see you brought up I guess in closing with that, we're going to say that a lot of people know that that's kind of started things a little bit, but there's all kinds of conspiracies on how it all started. I think every country has their own crashed UFOs and their own back engineering, and the U.S.
Yes.
definitely has, and they went out and robbed other countries of their crashed UFOs. And so
Everybody has a retrieval team.
right. Yeah. So, and it's just a race. That's the space race, actually. To who's going to back engineer the best UFO or ET technology? Now you have the Hollow Earth up there, fact or fiction, Jason, and actually the Hollow Earth will take us into, I guess, the flat Earth and everything else. Talk about what you got up there, Jason. The Hollow Earth.
Yes, this is also what Maria believed in as well. She also did believe that there were beings from inside the earth as well that were on different bases inside the earth that were still influencing, the earth today. She did believe that as well at the time. So that's why I brought this up. I brought this picture up from what I found out about the hollow earth theory and the different ways to enter and different entrances.
Right.
Um, there was a very, I'll just get into the one thing on this would be Admiral Byrd's flight. When when he went to Antarctica with the expedition, he had all those troops and everything go up there, and he pretty much left with his tail between his legs, lost half the ships, half the men, and came back with his tail between his legs because he just couldn't believe what he saw and found up there. The journals they dictate a little about what he found about there being an entrance into the center of the earth where he was tractor beamed, I guess, down to the ground and met beings. But this goes into where Maria Orsic, first she wanted, I believe, one of the theories was that she went to, like I said, Antarctica. Well, if she went there, maybe she was trying to go to one of these bases inside the Earth to disappear.
Mm-hmm. To join up her own kind. The Nordics are the tall whites. She wasn't a tall woman, I don't think, but she was definitely a Nordic ET. I would say. I
Yes.
mean, people could laugh at me and say, "Oh, she wasn't an ET. She was just an attractive woman for a time, and she had a scam going on." Well, maybe so, but let's just give her the benefit of the doubt that she was ahead of her time. Now you have a sun in the middle of this hollow earth. Now, could that be what scientists are calling the magma table or the magma center,
Yes.
Jason?
Yes. And I believe there's different terrariums that are inside the planet. They're holes, if you will, different gaps that will allow life to be in that space for that amount of time. You'll have gaps in lava magma that won't go in that area anymore. You could have life in that area.
Mm-hmm.
They've also found an ocean underneath the crust of the earth. That fascinated me. It's more water than what we have on the top of the planet,
Wow. I know
and
her.
it's
I've heard
inside the
scientists.
earth.
Yeah, I've heard scientists say that they've been proving that there are some of these things underneath the earth. There's water down.
Yes.
There's a bright magma that could put off enough radiation to produce a secondary sun inside the center of it. Uh, do you know of any, Jason, do you know of any ETs, any extraterrestrial races that do live in the earth?
My bet would be on the Tibetan monks, the Shambhala, city of Shambhala.
Mhm.
Um, I believe it is a true city. If you go to if you go to climb Mount Everest and you want to climb up there, if you want to do any expedition up there, you have to sign a piece of paper. And if you actually read that piece of paper, it states that the Yeti, which is actually up there, they actually found it, they did, is protected. You can't shoot at it, you can look at it, but you can't hunt it, you can't trap it, nothing.
Right.
So they believe it's up there. The Yeti was the protector of the city of Shambhala. So therein lies, now you have that city. I believe there could be a higher power inside the earth that is influencing us psychologically.
Right. Now, you mentioned the Yeti being a protector, uh, and that takes us all the way into the Bigfoot around the world. They might be a protector of certain areas, of certain ET bases, or certain entrances that they want to protect. So, does that mean that you're talking about the Yeti, and I know it's going to run into the Bigfoot thing. We're going to be talking about that pretty soon. Do you think that they are extraterrestrial, Jason?
I believe they could be either. They could be extraterrestrial, they could be interdimensional, they could be extra interdimensional. There's so many theories out there. My theory that I go with the most is they're interdimensional. They they live on a higher plane than we do. Um, if you take anything in the world, anything in on the earth, everything has their own vibrational frequency.
Mm-hmm.
That is for this earth. If you go to another planet, they have a totally different vibrational frequency. They have their own frequency on that planet for those people as well, for the aliens.
Right.
You take them going to Earth, we might not actually see them. They're on a different frequency than we are. They could walk right next to you and you wouldn't even know.
Yeah, I have found that I've had my tri-field meter out, and it'll peg out with the magnetic energy with
Mhm.
something in the room, and I can't see it, and it's
Yeah.
they're invisible. They can come in, and also I've heard of stories, and Lynn Moulton Hall talks about this a lot. She has a lot of the stories from people that experience shooting at Bigfoot, and they're only a short range away from them, and they shoot at them, and they see the fur fly, and then all of a sudden this Bigfoot disappears, like vanishes back into its own dimension. That's that.
I actually had an experience like that before. We were investigating a UFO. Supposedly it crashed, but we didn't find any debris. We were in Pennsylvania. We went into the woods, me and my friend, Anthony Birch. He is an Indian expert. I took him with me because I found what could have been Indian burial ground. And when we got up there, it was just all sorts of different strangeness. We saw a shadow that was a figure but wasn't a figure, but it was like in and out. And then it's almost like you look at a tree and you can see the tree, but you can see something in front of it hazy moving back and forth. It's like a hologram, kind of like see-through.
Right.
And we saw like a black smoke, like a creature come from, it didn't walk though. It went and it jumped from tree to tree at us.
Kind of like the shadow figures everybody talks about, and I've
Yes.
seen shadow figures. My camera has picked up shadow figures in my house. You got a picture of the Glock here. Was this picture taken in Germany or was this taken in Pennsylvania?
This picture was taken in Pennsylvania. This is one of the few pictures that actually survived the investigation. The rest of the pictures were lost. I've actually had these pictures analyzed and they're 100% true. Now the next, hold on, let me see if I find it here. Let me show you a better picture here of it.
It looks like a big bullet.
Yes. Let me see.
I heard there's inscriptions on the side of it. That's the Kecksburg incident.
Trying to get it pull up on the screen now.
It's amazing these pictures got through because the military, they were using force to take cameras and take pictures away from people.
Oh yeah, this picture right here, like they did not want this picture up. They and then there's another picture here I'm going to bring to the screen here. Here we go.
There, oh, well, that looks a little more rounder. The other one looked a little slimmer, like a bullet.
Yeah, this picture here was the taken with the person who actually went away with the object. Now, what they said with this object was that it was a downed Russian satellite. I don't think that looks a satellite to me.
No, it don't. It's too heavy for a satellite for the use that we had back then. The inscriptions on the side, Jason, did they make any sense out of those?
No, no. There were, it's almost like Egyptian hieroglyphs, but they weren't Egyptian. It was a weird writing and a weird hieroglyphs of it. Let me bring back the other one here. But they took it off on that army truck in the back there. And let me bring out this one.
Okay, that picture looks a little bit narrow because, and if you look at the trucks, if you go back to the one with the trucks,
Yep.
see how the trucks even look narrow. It must have been
Yeah.
the photography that made everything look skinnier. And
They compressed the photo, I
uh,
believe.
that's the kind of camera I like, make me look skinnier.
Yeah.
but it looked like, yeah, that camera. But here, this is the real look. I think they look
Yes.
like an acorn and not especially a bullet. That picture is amazing. I've never seen it before. You
Yeah,
can,
and this like I said, this picture was actually analyzed. I'll bring that up. It was analyzed by our video analysis expert from Dave Siegel. He's a field investigator with MUFON, and it's a normal photo. He said it presents as an actual photo.
Mhm. Well, it looks like the military truck that was used during that time period.
Yes,
Mm.
yes, and we went over a lot of stuff. I'll just bring this up real quick here. This is another analysis he did on it and everything.
What are we looking at? We're looking at different colors on the left-hand side.
Yes. This is a phase analysis as far as like color variations. Um, has to be similar to other textures overall. And you want to see consistent mapping. In this one, he can't determine whether or not it's a righteous photograph or not with the color variations.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have the metadata of the camera that was used. And then here is the last one. And this is the last one. It presents as normal and unedited. So this photo is an actual photo of the Diglaka that was recovered in the woods of Pennsylvania.
And
In
the guy standing there, it looks like he's touching it, so it must not have been hot at the time. But I heard it was hot when it come in. But
Yes.
he actually looks like a scientist because he has a pocket a pen pocket
Yeah.
thing in his pocket there. So he does look like a scientist. Yeah. But yeah, I've never seen this, Jason. That's amazing. You can't say how you got these pictures, huh?
No, I received them through means of email. Most of the time, my MUFON email is out there to the world. If you go on MUFON.com, you'll find me. Pennsylvania, section number 3. I have, 8 counties over here that I'm working. But I have one field investigator under me that works with me, Mike Cotterman. He's also military. He was Air Force, retired, and then got into MUFON.
Right.
But yeah, it's not a surprise that I got these. I've gotten plenty of emails in the past that were strange in nature.
Yeah, I think people are going to take a look at this and say, "Wow, that's pretty neat." So you think this is what the Maria Orsic, she helped design this thing, the Glock?
Yes, and from what we understand, the Glocka actually used a different type of mineral that they found up in the Antarctic, up in the North Pole, actually.
Mm.
And it was named Zeril. Let me get this right. Exerum 525.
Okay.
And the makeup of it was called that, but the other name for it was red mercury.
Yeah, I was going to say it has the consistency of mercury, doesn't it?
Yes.
I've seen some
Yes.
videos on that.
It
Also,
was.
yeah, there was some. I guess they called this the Frog Ranch. It's on TV, and these guys found a metal. It looked like mercury, and it was solid. But once you put it in your hand, it only takes something like 90 degrees to melt it, and it melts real easy. And you think that could be part of this metal that they found on TV, Jason?
It very well could be. It very well could be.
That was last week. Yeah, I saw that on one of their shows.
Oh yeah, like what Maria Orsic designed here with the bell, with the Glocka, was an anti-gravity kind of machine that could transport someone from one place to another. If you had one of these in one place and you had one of these in another place, based off of the machines and how they were spinning, they would attract to each other. It was particles within the one machine was attracted to particles of the other machine, and it would transport you supposedly from one place to another. Now, when we invaded Germany, the Glocka disappeared. They turned it on, I believe, and they left it running. They wanted it to get out of there as fast as possible. They didn't know where it was going to go, when it was going to go. They just didn't want us to get a hold of it.
So you think this is what landed in Kecksburg?
Yes. Yes, I
20 years
believe
later.
so.
Yeah, 20 years later, I think, something like that.
I believe so. From what I understand, the farmers that were in the area determined that it was a red fireball across the sky, and they heard a loud boom in the woods. When military personnel, or when actually not military, when the locals arrived first, they said it was acorn shape that had Egyptian type writing on the bottom of it, that military personnel were seen in the area with a small box that they were carrying out. Like I think 4 or 5 people were carrying this box out. Nobody knew what was inside. I believe it could have been the occupant inside of this craft. It could have been a body that they got out of this craft.
And more than likely, it could have been a German body, right, Jason?
It could have been a German body. It could have been Maria Orsic herself. I mean, we don't really know.
It looks like it's really solid above, so the entrance has to be at the bottom.
Yes, that's what I believe. I believe you went through the bottom of this machine. It was spun up with red mercury on the bottom, and some kind of electrical pulse on the bottom part here, where you have the little lip right in here.
Oh,
I believe,
actually, it's meant to be in the dirt with the heavy part, with the like an arrow, the
yes,
sharper point it goes into the lands into the dirt, and above you can come out of a hatch from that.
yes,
Mm.
yep,
Wow. And then we have the Roswell incident in 1947, and then we have the Washington D.C. event in the early 50s with Eisenhower. Then we get to Barney and Betty Hill's incident, and from there, can you? I guess you were talking about Brown Mountain Lights. Where's that located, Jason?
let me see. All right, here we go. Brown Mountain Lights. That is in North Carolina.
Okay, that was in
Now the
1929. Wow.
yeah. Now the lights. This is what I think is happening is the Brown Mountain Lights are of natural causes. Um, I believe that there's an amount of quartz that's actually in the mountain range. The amount of quartz would have to be huge, but it wouldn't. Quartz is quasi-electric, meaning that it can store electrical power.
Mm.
Store and release electrical energy is quartz. Quartz crystal can. If you have a large amount of it in a mountain range with a flowing stream, you create electricity when the water goes through it. When the quartz crystals have too much, they discharge.
Right. So it's coming from the ground up instead of the sky.
Yes.
Okay. Now, this Brown Mountains, is this in Arkansas?
I don't think so.
Because I remember I went down there one time to watch for the lights in a valley there in Arkansas, and I thought that could be the same thing because it kind of looks like the same terrain. Uh, but also, you have this DEW weapon that kind of looks like this too, the direct energy weapon that has a resemblance to this type of shooting of a bright white light in a lined fashion. I guess did you hear me, Jason? Why it
Yes.
looks like the DEW weapon actually too that they say
Yeah.
they're working with, Jason. That's my conspiracy mind is going to work on that. That's just for educational purposes or recreational purposes only.
Well, there was videos out there that were streaming online that showed a craft above the atmosphere and that showed the same kind of beam like that was trying to shoot it down, I believe. And it's it's pretty amazing if you watch it.
Right. Uh, Now we go to, I guess you got a UFO landing in Wapallo. What is it? I can't pronounce it.
Well, I actually wanted to get into this. A
Okay.
lot of people are going to start seeing these craft around the United States. It's called the TR-3B. It's actually a U.S. designed aircraft that you'll be seeing around the sky a lot more. It's anti-gravity. We've actually have a craft that can use anti-gravity.
Right. I saw one of those in 2011, April 2011, and it didn't look like it was made by the US. It was huge. It covered about 9 houses, and it went right over me. I was standing in my driveway, and it had two bright lights on the back tail of it, and in the front it had two big glass globes, and
Mhm.
they weren't lit. And in the center where that other light's on, it was a vent, and it kind of made a hissing sound. And so that was kind of a heat vent that vented off heat. And then it had a red light in the tail end of it, but it looked like it was thick. I saw the underneath side. It was only about 30 feet off the ground and actually clipped the tree on the other side of my road. And I don't think that was military because military wouldn't practice or, practice runs in a neighborhood or in a where people live. Do you think that, Jason? What's your thoughts on that?
I've known the military to do a lot of sketchy things, and them having a mission that they don't know and they have to be compartmentalized about, it's not out of the question.
Right. So these TR3Bs are being used now, and you think this is what a lot of people are reporting, Jason?
Yes, and variations to this as well. Now the TR3B has a US patent number. It was 2018. Now this craft is using, and it says it right there, an initial mass reduction device, meaning anti-gravity.
Mm-hmm.
These devices, you'll start seeing them around the skies. Now, sometimes they will have an experimental aircraft go out into a civilian population to see what the reports is that they will get in.
Mm-hmm.
They test cloaking. They test whether or not you can see it or not. They test it out. You don't see it, no reports come in. They know they're good to go.
Right. Yeah, well, I saw this one. I reported it, and but I've had other people in my neighborhood when I lived in another city here in Illinois. They claim to have seen it too, and it was
Yes.
flying low and it was flying real slow. I mean, we're talking 30 miles an hour. Okay, your abduction experience. That's what it was. Wapwallopen, Wapwallopen, Wapwallopen.
Yeah, Wapwallopen. Yeah.
That's Pennsylvania. Uh,
Yes.
there's a UFO landing. I brought that up before that, but let's cover this here, then we can get to that. My abduction experience. Tell us a little bit about this, Jason.
Yeah, that was the same thing we discussed in the beginning. When I was 16, I actually have had this implant in my neck since I was 16. The implant, I've actually went to the VA and gotten x-rays. They have told me that it is a metal, solid, cylindrical object that has a biological mass around it. And they also told me they wouldn't remove it.
Because it was in a dangerous place in your throat area.
Yes, they told me that that area in the neck is where all the crucial veins are, and no doctor will want to remove it unless it's an emergency. So I've had x-rays done, I've had samples taken. It's there, it's magnetic. Um, it 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 hasn't gone away, it hasn't moved, it stays in the same place. Um, yeah.
Does it put off any frequencies or any radio frequencies, Jason?
Not that I've been able to detect, but that doesn't mean that it's not putting off when we're not trying to find it, you know. We're not trying to look for it and then something happens.
No. How did it get there? Do you have any idea?
I actually have no idea. Um, I've had that ever since I can remember. Ever since I was 16, 17, I can remember having that in on the side of my neck. Before I joined the military, it was still there, same place. It's never moved. It's never gone anywhere, but it is magnetic. That's the only thing that really got to me at the time was I held this little magnet up to it, and I was like, "Oh my God, it doesn't fall."
Wow. That'd be a trick that you can use as a magic trick, actually. But
Oh yeah.
no, but you be careful of the doctors, because most, I guess, civilian doctors, even VA doctors, if they take something out like that, they won't give it to you.
Yes, they call it a biological hazard. They will not give it back to you.
Right. And they won't even let you have pictures of it. Yeah.
No, no.
It's interesting. Okay. Spirits and cryptids. Okay. Go ahead, Jason. Tell us what this picture is all about.
Okay, this is actually a picture of me and a friend of mine. We are out in the woods, and we're going out in the woods, and if you look right in the back of us, let me get it here, zoomed in. You see this right here.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We had creature sightings behind us in the woods. We had that right there behind my head. That was a spirit creature. Now my friend there, Birch, is in the picture as well. He is He is an Indian expert. He's from the Lenape tribe.
Mhm.
And then behind him, we have another one. Let me get it here. There it is. Oop, zoom in here. Go behind his head. And we have another one that shows up. There it is.
Yeah.
Very defined. Like that is from another world. You don't get, I really don't get how the tree was able to make the circular motion like this with the leaves.
That it looks like an energy ring, maybe.
Exactly. That's what they were saying too. When I was talking to the elders of Birch's tribe, my friend's tribe, he said that me and him are like yin and yang. We attract spirits and all sorts of stuff.
Mhm.
That's pretty much what we do. If both of us are together, spirits will come and spirits will just be all around us.
Now, do you think that those are coming from another dimension, or they're interdimensional entities, Jason?
I actually do believe they are. If you, like I said, if you looked at the one up on top, it had that circular motion to it. Trees don't have that. That's not natural.
Right.
That's portal. That's envisioning the other side.
Wow. That's unique. I've seen other pictures like that too, and people pass them on. Now, what's this picture here, Jason?
Well, now we're going to be starting to get into the cryptids.
Okay.
Now, when I was actually here, we were on a case. I had to go to, it was, let me think of the name here. It was out in Catawissa, Pennsylvania. We went to Catawissa, Pennsylvania because this guy had gone out there and was watching, the stars at night, and he started taking some photos with a high-speed camera. Now, as soon as he started taking these photos with a high-speed camera, he noticed that two of the pictures came out different. They came out with this UFO type being in the background, or the UFO in the background here. And we'll get to this here. Let's see here. Whoop. Move over here. All right, here we go. Now this is what the being was that I was telling you yesterday about. You can see it there. I zoomed in on it. There is no light source on the other side of this mountain, on the other side of this hill, that can make this light source in the middle, this beam. There's nothing that can reflect that on the other side.
Well, so that is a light that has come from somewhere that you don't know about. Is that right?
Yes. Yes. And as I was telling you when we were talking on the phone, if you look here, you can actually see the tail in the back of it starting to form out. Let me zoom in again here. You can see a tail. You can see maybe a back leg here on the bottom starting to form and come out of this portal type thing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when we investigated this, we went down and I was amazed. We got readings like you would not believe. The readings that I got on my machine, which I have all sorts of EMF meters, machines, readings, that I get.
Mm-hmm.
That is the reading in the position, in the exact spot where that creature was spotted. We're getting electromagnetic interference. We're actually getting a radio frequency in that exact spot that there shouldn't be anything there. The only thing behind that spot is a creek. Behind that creek is a forest. Behind that forest is farmland and mountains. You have nothing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting a high reading of EF in that same spot that creature had appeared from.
Now, is that 69? Is that saying that's a danger level?
Yes. Yes. High is a danger level with EF radiation. Yes. Let's get out of here. Now that's us getting into cryptids. These photos were personal photos of our investigations with MUFON. We go out there and we investigate. We go hands-on. All of our people are volunteer, and we go out to the locations and get the scientific evidence that we need.
Mm-hmm. Boots on the ground. That's the best investigation you can have, and it's more authentic and more credible. Also, Jason.
Yes.
White Bigfoot. Okay, this is interesting.
All right. Yes. Now the White Bigfoot actually showed up. The first sighting was in 1970. The eyewitness was Annette B. Now she didn't give her last name. Obviously, you see this in the woods. You don't want to give your last name. You're going to get criticized. You're going to get harassment. But anyway, she first saw it in 1970. It stood between 6 and 7 feet tall, a broad chest, long neck, and coat of a dirtied white fur. She described its face. She said its eyes were dark and spaced far apart. White hair covered the lower half of its face. There was pinkish skin around the eyes and forehead. Looked like it was hanging over its forehead like bangs, kind of. You can kind of see that a little in the photo, but it's kind of blurry. Here in the top here, there's a little black part here. It looks like maybe there's a bang in the middle of the eyes. But there's a video also that I wanted to share the link to. If anybody wanted to see it, this picture was taken off of the actual video. There is a 30-second video of this person who actually shot this in 2008. Same creature, and it was shot in Carbondale, Pennsylvania. This guy had a 30-second video going through the woods, pitch black, saw this creature, got a couple good seconds of it, and then he ran away. He disappeared, ran. But they ran a story which possibly talked about a white albino creature after they received an anonymous email to the Carbondale newspaper.
Wow. And a lot of the stuff's going on in Pennsylvania.
Oh yeah, we have so many. Like there's each state, I believe, has their own unique set of cryptids. Pennsylvania, we have the White Bigfoot, is one of them. And the second one, let's go over the second one, which will be the Albat-witch.
Albat-witch.
The Albat-witch, yes. It's a now the Albat-witch is it's a unique creature to Pennsylvania. Thought to derive from the Pennsylvania Dutch English word meaning apple snitch. After the creature, he had the Albat-witch is derived from the word meaning apple snatcher. Pretty much, if you would leave apples around, this is where it got its name from. You'd leave apples around, and then this creature would come and steal all of your apples. and you would try to come back to the area, and you wouldn't find any evidence of anything. No apple cores, no nothing. They take everything.
Hmm. That's kind of like the Bigfoot today. They use apples to bait the Bigfoot, for pictures, Jason.
Yes, they do, and we have a couple interesting ones up in Red Rock, Pennsylvania. There's a national forest up there, national park, Red Rock National Forest, and there's been sightings of Bigfoot in that area as well. There's been sightings to where people have left food out. The Bigfoot or creature would take the food and leave these pearly white stones behind, meaning like almost like currency. They're taking your food, but they're giving you this really shiny white rock, in comparison to what they took.
Yeah, I had somebody on the show that talked about that, giving little trinkets and gifts in return for food
Yes,
items and things of that nature. So that's their behavior, and it sounds like a civilized behavior for a trade, Jason.
more of a trade situation. Yes, I believe they get that from the Indians.
Yeah.
I believe that all of the Indian nations around the United States, before we were ever here, they had their own trades with these creatures, with these beings, that they were able to farm this land. They were able to have this land without them coming in, because they would give them treats. They would give them offerings to help ward away the spirits, ward away, the beings from harboring all their food or taking it, destroying it, harming them. Um, they would offer them stuff, just so that they would have things that they would need, they would.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's yeah, we hear about all this folklore stuff from the past, and like we were talking earlier, Jason, that a lot of conspiracy and folklore actually comes from a real story somewhere. There's a basis for it, and so
Yes.
so this here, Albat-witch, that sounds German
Yeah.
language.
It's they describe it as a 4 foot tall. Now think of a Bigfoot, but a mini Bigfoot.
Yeah.
About 4 foot tall, same thing, has, fur all over it. And the creature, the Susquehannocken Indians, had paintings actually on their war shields of these creatures, these Albat-witch, when they went into battle.
Hmm.
That was the Susquehannocken Indians. They also, they lived mostly in the trees. They kept to the shadows. They didn't like to make their presence known, and if they did, the Indians said that their presence was known by the sound of a cracking whip. That would probably be them, probably from jumping from tree to tree, maybe like the whip of the branches
Yeah,
coming down.
or the snap coming through a portal could.
Yes.
Uh, Now, could these, Jason, in your opinion, could a lot of these things that people are seeing, could they be shape shifting ETs that shapeshift into this type of thing, like a monkey looking or gorilla looking thing, since we're familiar with that here on Earth?
I have heard stories of extraterrestrials that shapeshift into things that we know,
Hmm.
things that won't scare us. But I mean, Albat-witch, you look at that and be a little scared, but it's kind of what we would assume a gorilla to look like, a monkey to look like. The Albat-witch is 4 foot tall. I would think it would be maybe a monkey escaped from the zoo. We wouldn't think anything of it, but I have heard of stories of beings that came out of crafts that were shape shifting in front of children. They went from a female to a male to a horse to a something else, a bird, big bird. Then they went back into their ship. Maybe they were having problems with the visual part of it. But
Right. And there's conspiracies nowadays, Jason, that we have doubles, we have clones for humans and for people in high up places. That's a conspiracy, not proven yet. So just want to make sure that's known. But
yeah, that's another conspiracy out there, the double twin theory, the aliens taking our blood to make hybrids of
right,
ourselves. Um, there's a lot of theories out there, as far as all of these mysterious creatures. They all have their own type of mystery behind them.
right. You have here Catawissa and then Raystown. Ray, are those towns where there's Raystown? Okay, there we go. Listed on that. Jason, can you tell us about this?
Yes, actually, the Raystown Ray is a it's a it's a little strange. Everybody thought it was the Loch Ness monster of the West Susquehanna Creek, or the West Susquehanna. Um, they thought it was, now some of the names are the Raystown Ray, the Kettle Creek Monster, and this is where it comes from, is the Kettle Creek that goes into the Susquehanna. Um, the West Branch Dungong, that was from the Indians, and the Susquehanna Seal. It was a drawing from someone that actually took in a drawing from what they saw, from what the monster was like on this rock that they had seen, but they didn't have a camera with them.
Mhm.
Um, now the creature is really elusive. It's said to lurk in the waters of the Susquehanna River near Lock Haven in Clinton County. That's where the Kettle Creek monster comes in. It's a marine creature that we believe dates back to over a century. Um, an article actually in the Daily Democrat from February 27th, 1897, it describes the travels of a creature that existed before the valley was settled, making its way up the river and settling in an area in present-day Lock Haven and Kettle Creek. Described as a marine animal, with the bulk of an ox or a hippopotamus. The monster was in the form of anything like else on Earth. It's said to make this horrible howling sound at night,
Mhm.
and it's often blamed for capsizing rafts with people in them. Um, the Susquehanna River is very mucky. You can't see the bottom. You can't even see below the surface of the water. If something like this was to go underneath of your raft and just tip it over and just go right back under, I don't believe you would ever see it.
Yeah. It looks elongated on the left hand side. Looks like a kind of what you call the Loch Ness one.
Serpentine.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the one on the right looks like a seal with a big mouth.
Yep, and that's where most of the folklore comes from. We have one image now of a mythical creature that the photo actually looks like a serpent, but then we have an eyewitness account that says it's more seal-like.
Yeah.
Could it be both? It could.
Mhm.
It could very well be a hybrid creature between a seal and a snake.
Yeah, it could be interdimensional where it comes in and out when it wants to. Yeah.
It very well could be as well. The Loch Ness monster, you have a needle in a haystack. It's the same thing here. The river is everywhere. The Susquehanna River goes into the ocean, and comes back up. You,
Mhm.
you could literally have this thing anywhere.
Yeah, we're moving right along here. Catawissa, Pennsylvania. What do you have for that? You have that listed as a note.
Oh
Um,
yeah, no, Catawissa was the sighting of here.
all right.
Yep.
So that's in Pennsylvania too.
Yes. Yes, definitely.
Okay.
Now, after the Raystown Ray, um, we actually have another item here. This
Squonk.
is, yes, the Squonk. Now, uh, it's a we have some very interesting names here. Okay, this is an artist's description of what it would be like rendering this in 3D. Um, from everyone's description of what the creature actually looks like. The Squonk is in northern Pennsylvania. The hemlock forests of northern Pennsylvania are said to be home to it. It's a pig-like with saggy skin and blemishes and warts. The Squonk, it spends most of its life weeping. Very elusive, hides at a site in the hemlock woods. However, there is a legend that says if you ever do catch a Squonk, it won't be long before you find yourself in a puddle of tears.
Really?
Yes.
So it is some kind of a spiritual animal or some kind of evil animal you think, Jason?
It's now puddle of tears in the place of the beast. Pretty much the creature is said to have its roots in lumber history in Pennsylvania, in the lumber yards. The creatures were fearsome. They would chase men out of the woods with their screams and hollers and their whelps. It would be a pretty terrifying thing to run into about 100 of these things coming at you.
Right, yeah. It looks like it can stand up on the two legs. I mean, like a bipedal. It looks like it has that ability.
That's what I believe as well too. Uh, they there's a lot of different folklore behind this because it's such an elusive creature. Not very many people have actually had run-ins with this creature.
I just wonder how they can stay invisible to the public and not be seen that much because they're white and they'd be easily seen in a forest. Do you think so, Jason?
Well, also like we were going over before, everything has their own vibrational frequency now. If this creature is set to a frequency that we can't see, then it could be right next to you.
Yeah, right.
Your eyes can only see a certain amount of color, a certain amount. We can't see ultraviolet, we can't see X-ray, we can't see certain spectrums of light. If these creatures actually embody that, we would never know they're there unless they make a mistake.
Mm.
Oh, I hit a tree and now I'm visible.
Right. Yeah. Now you mentioned Giwoggle. Maybe we can get to that one because time is going really
Oh,
fast. It
yes.
always does when you're having a good time, really.
Oh, I know, I know. This is the Giwoggle. The Giwoggle, um, it's a native legend in the Clinton County. Now, even the Indians have heard of these things before. Its official title is the Monster of Clinton County. It's pretty much described as a mishmash of animals. The Giwoggle was called upon by local witches to wreak havoc and mayhem on farmers who offended them. Similar to the Skinwalker, because the Skinwalker is actually the same thing like Indian legends of Skinwalkers were cursed
Right.
by the shamans of other tribes. You know, they would curse someone, you would turn into a Skinwalker.
Was this wolf like or was it fox like? It looks raccoon and fox looking in face.
Well, like I said, it was a mixture. It was about 6 feet tall, had the shape of a wolf, but stood on, and was able to stand on its back legs.
Right.
It had bird-like claws, and instead of back feet, it had horse hooves,
Right.
like a horse.
Mhm.
Now, which confused trackers because when they were following it, they were first following the front paw, and they were like, okay, we're following claws, and now we're following hooves. What kind of is this shape shifting? But they think that it might have been, you know, either a shapeshifter or it could have been a mixture of other creatures.
Okay. Now, I guess I'm going to ask you to stop the sharing, and we can come back, and you can tell us about one of your better or more mysterious abduction cases that you went into in MUFON, Jason, and then we'll close out the show.
All right, let me get here back to my Zoom. I will stop my share here. Is it stop video? No, not stop video.
Stop shares, yeah, in the top middle should be.
Oh, okay, okay. All right, there we go. Okay.
Okay. Now tell us a little. I know you give me a lot of data from some MUFON, investigations. Could you tell us perhaps one of the best investigations you've been on with MUFON on an abduction case, Jason, and then we'll close out.
All right. The best case that I had was in Wapwallopen, Pennsylvania. I was actually up there, and we had, oh God, we had so many things happen up there. There was, let me get my thing here. I got my here we go. All right. Now I went up on June 17th of 2022. Now the reason why I went up there was into Wapwallopen because we had MUFON got an initial report that there was a UFO that actually landed in someone's backyard. We got the report, and as soon as we got the report, I went up there 2 days later with the equipment and everything that we had. The EMF meter that I actually had on hand was just peaking. I couldn't understand why at the time that it was, but I ran back to the vehicle to grab my machines and everything that I had, my EMF meter, my radiation meter, and they had all spiked. So I told the owner, I said, listen, you can't be around this area. I can't even be around the area because there's background radiation, EMF radiation that's still coming from where this craft was. Now, when we took, we initially took samples of all the soil and everything, and it turned out that the soil, the grass was actually burned from the inside out. It was a microwave, instead of a flash burn, it was microwave burn. It cooked it from the inside out. And it was just incredible. The amount of scientific evidence that we got off of that case was just incredible. We have mounds of evidence. Minerals that should be in the soil to help the grass grow were all gone. Zero. You know, we had the fish that were in the pond, gone, all dead. No fish. There were crickets, there were frogs chirping. No, there are absolutely no fish in the pond. And when I talked to the owner, he said the year before he had catfish, he had all sorts of fish in there. Then there was nothing.
Well, so was there an eyewitness to this landing, Jason?
Yes, there was. Well, the wife didn't actually witness the landing. She was inside the house, and she had seen a light from the window, and from the kitchen window, because she was cooking for a graduation that year. And her dogs actually, that's what actually caught her attention, was her dogs kept running back and forth between the front door and the kitchen, the front door and the kitchen. They would bark at the front door. They were yelling at the front door. And it was about 1 o'clock in the morning. Nobody should have been there. She was scared.
Mhm.
She looked then, she went to the living room with the dogs. She looked out, nothing there. Closed the door. She looked into the kitchen. As soon as she turned to look into the kitchen, she saw this light coming down. She saw the light from the kitchen as if the sun was coming out. And all of a sudden, total darkness. It disappears.
Oh,
Her husband came home about 3 o'clock in the morning because he worked night shift. And that day he reported to MUFON. And as soon as I got the report, I went directly up there. And that's how I actually think that I had gotten myself into some trouble, because we had initially had found out that what I had gotten into was a high dose of radiation.
yeah.
Um, I'd actually gotten it on my arms and my legs and different things like that nature. Let me see here. I'm gonna real quick. Let me see here. Where is it? Let me show you something real quick.
Okay.
This. All right, there we go. This is the initial right there
Mhm.
of the Wapwallopen case. The 3 circles were burned in the middle with this circle impounded on the outside. Then this is actually from the flare itself. The flare shows that the outside area of these circles is actually hotter than the area around it. So something actually was there, and the heat was there for it to create that anomaly.
Right.
We took site samples, all samples from everywhere around that area. And I actually got injured. This is the injury report from Geisinger in Pennsylvania. Rash and non-specific skin eruption. They couldn't label it as anything else. They wouldn't give me any other medication, but that's neither here nor there. You mentioned, hey, I work for MUFON, and then your story goes out the window.
Yeah. But yeah, I've those marks, people have talked about those marks, and you're not the only one with those mysterious kind of marks, Jason. So,
Yes, these are some of the marks that I had. The At first it was just a rash, and then it would go into a circle, and then it would heal, and that circle part would fall out of the center, and then I would just have a circle around it.
yeah, I
You
had
know,
those. Yeah,
I
I,
just
I've had
I
those.
can't explain
Yeah,
it.
I've had those too, Jason. And yeah, it's familiar with me. And a lot of doctors, they'll look at it and they say, "Well, that's just a rash." And I think I read your report, and that's what it said.
Yeah. They said that it was a non-specific skin eruption or rash.
Mhm.
But when I went in there initially and I showed them, I showed them actually the machine that I actually took the readings from. They they told me they couldn't believe me that I actually had taken those readings, because initially they were going to give me um, medicine for radiation.
Mhm.
And then they decided not to, because I had told them, here it is,
Yeah.
that I had told them that I had worked for MUFON. And they said, "Oh, what's that?" And I said, "It's the Mutual UFO Network. We investigate UFO interactions with the people." And they didn't believe anything I said after that.
Yeah. It's amazing how doctors they don't go outside the box, that's for sure.
No,
I guess
no.
they got their
It,
limitations. They're told not to.
it's what they can explain.
Yeah.
Like these are actually some of the reports here that we had. Uh, you can just check over them real quick. We'll go over them real quick. Really, really high titanium and iron that was found in the soil itself. And then what we have here is the scorch marks, actually from the center um, of the actual grass itself. All these samples, we have our own level 2 lab
Mhm.
that is actually in Ohio. that we send all these samples to, that we at MUFON, we spent our own volunteer money, $500,000 on upgrading our lab so that we can deal with some of this, scientific evidence and have it come out to light.
Some of them plants that look split, they kind of remind me of some of these crop circle plants that are split like that.
Yes, and it's a microwave emission. That's what does that.
Mhm.
Now, you can take a lighter to a piece of grass. Yes, it's going to light the outside of it on fire, and it'll light it until it gets to the center. But a microwave emission is the same thing that, like, your microwave does, that when you microwave food, anything gets microwaved from the inside out. It won't be microwave emissions travel to the center of an object, heat it up, and then boil it from the inside out.
Yes. And that's why they say stand at least 17 inches away from your microwave when you're using it.
Yes, because he said the emissions would hurt you eventually.
Mhm.
Well, with a lot of amount of time around it.
Yeah. I think it probably could be a further away that you stand, is better off you are with microwave, especially if you got an older microwave that could leak. That's just it's just my precaution for people that are around microwaves a lot, because now we have microwave weapons who actually are targeting certain individuals. TIs are targeted individuals, and this has happened to diplomats and everything in around Cuba.
Yes, you're talking about the Havana syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that could very well be a microwave emission weapon.
Right. Mm-hmm.
A
That's what they're saying.
directed energy weapon. It could be.
Yeah, and they're handheld. They actually got them to science. I guess we're going to close out, Jason. It's been a quick hour and a half, that's for sure, over an hour and a half. So we're going to close out, and I want you to tell people, once you come back on the big screen, tell people where they can find your information and how they can get a hold of you.
Yes, my name, like I said, is Jason Albertson. I work for MUFON, and I'll actually hold up my card here to the screen. Let's see if it gets it there.
Yeah, it's got
Oh,
it.
wait, how do you do it the other way? So you can, I'm not sure how to do that.
You had a pretty good picture of it when you held it up a little closer.
Oh, hold on.
Right there. That's it. That's got it.
Is
Okay.
it backwards for you, or is it
Oh,
normal?
it's normal. It's a reading.
Okay, good. It's backwards for me, but this is how you can get a hold of me. I must have already switched it, but that's my information right there.
Okay. Good. Great.
Now, again, I'm happy that I was on the show with you, and
Appreciate
if
it.
you ever need me to come back on, and we can go over another Ancient Aliens. This case would probably take a while, so
Yeah. You have plenty of material. And when I saw your material coming in first, I said, "Oh my, Jason, we're never going to get." So I just wanted to get detailed into some of the segments of it. But you have a lot. Yeah, yeah. You have enough information to come back and do another show. There's no doubt. So we'll do that. And I want to thank everybody for tuning in to us on Facebook, Rumble, YouTube, Spotify, rss.com, and also SoundCloud. So if you go to any of those shows, you'll see my downloads there. Jason Albertson, thank you so much for doing the show. This is Dave Emmons with A Strange Truth signing off, and thank you all for participating, especially here on Facebook. I've got a lot of people that are supporting this channel. Thank you so much, everybody, and have a good day.